Hello, everyone. I'm Tam, and we are back with another episode of my experiences. I want to talk about the time when I went to the time when I did a few therapy sessions. So, before you turn off the video and you're like, "Oh, therapy, that's for that's for sissies and cowards and that kind of stuff." It's that's for like that shows weakness in a man and all these other kind of things, which you may internalize because you have to be alpha and all that kind of stuff. You don't show weakness to anyone else, and it's the weakest thing you can do is not try to become better as a person. Yeah, so that's the weakest thing you can do. If the next step towards your evolution involves talking to people about things that you may not want to, or admitting things to yourself that you may not want to. For example, smoking is not healthy for me. I mean, it's not going to work out for me in the long run. It's going to affect me, affect my children, etc. So that's the weakest thing you can do. The weakest thing you can do is not ask for help. The weakest thing you can do is try to you know hold on to a sinking ship when you know you have to uh, pull things together. So anyway, so just to kind of frame this, like it's not weak to it's not a weakness to to ask others, hey, I actually need your help right now with this. That's how you function in any team environment. You can't do everything yourself. Nobody expects you to do everything yourself. You should not have to do everything yourself either, because you will hurt yourself and then drag everyone else down to the ground. So anyway, the point being, you know whether or not you need to seek advice, help from others, and it's okay to do that. It doesn't make you less of a man or person. So moving on, I during this time I was in community college, um, working my way towards an electrical engineering degree. My plan was to study community college for a few years to kind of finish my general education and then transfer to a official four year institution. I went from I went from a community college in San Jose called e- called Evergreen Valley College, and then I tried to transfer to UCLA. So also there's no shame in going to community college. That's what it is. So anyway, during that time I was studying community college. I was like a full time student plus like part time doing jobs every now and then to kind of build up my resume. So during this time I started to feel like I started to feel depressed and kind of just like a kind of sadness looming over my kind of like head, a kind of sadness looming over my kind of shoulder, and I kind of knew what it was, but at the time I didn't want to admit to myself because to admit to myself what my situation actually was would involve me having to make a choice. So instead, I tried to like do a bunch of things to kind of work around it and through it, and just kind of trying to dodge I kind of knew I had to do at the end. Anyway, that's a different story. So anyway, so one of the things I tried to do was try to try out therapy. It, at my community college, there was this mental health service, and you go in there, you sign a waiver, and, you give them your contact information, and and then they schedule you in. So it's the college, the therapist there is still is still in training, so it was a a pretty low cost investment. Each session, session was like 30 to 1 hour long, depending on how it goes. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's less. Whatever depends on what you want to talk about and kind of like go and work out and so on. So and then it costs like $1 or something like that. Like, it's just like just peanuts, because the main benefit for this service is to provide a training ground for the therapist to build her experience, her resume, and so on. So anyway, so that was the point of the service. So it's a very small cost. In my perspective, it was like, okay, so what do I have to actually lose besides maybe half an hour of my time, whatever. So I signed up for it. I went to the first session. I walked up the second floor of the administration student services building. I went to this kind of like room in the middle of kind of nowhere, like I sat down in this chair. It was a chair, and then there was a door here. Sat down in this chair, and the first thing I noticed when I sat down was near the right armrest. I think it was the right or the left one. Anyway, the right armrest. There was a phrase scratched into the armrest. It says you are not alone. That's what it says. So I guess there were some. I guess there were some students who had some kind of serious issues, and they may have, like, been thinking about taking their own life. So anyway, so again, it's not a weakness to seek help. Like, it's just not like you're not helping yourself or other people by just like keeping things inside and not working things through. Like, toxic things can only become more toxic left to themselves. So it doesn't like work itself out into a more positive light. Just leaving things alone. If if um if you leave BP oil, if you leave BP oil spill in the ocean by itself, it's only gonna get worse. It's not gonna magically, fix itself for the most part. And so you have to be aware of the direction that can go for you. So and stop it before before the snowball becomes a avalanche. Yeah. So I sat in a chair, and then I walked in the room here, and then I greeted my therapist. She was a Spanish woman, anyway, and the room was kind of like the room was kind well the room was clearly a office meeting room. You had a big round table, and then there was like two chairs, like so two chairs. So I the therapist sat on one side, I sat on the other side. So it's kind of like I guess a confrontation, so to speak. Kind of like the environment was repurposed for whatever it is, anyway. So it wasn't a super, like, I guess, friendly environment for those who are looking for something that's kind of like more like, I guess, to kind of ease you down. But it got the job done. Is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, so I went there the first session. I signed my waiver, everything else, and then she's like, "So what do you want to talk about, it? So what's on your mind, and so on." So then I kind of talked to her, like, I have this kind of like a feeling, this sadness over my kind of head and shoulder. It feels like just like it feels like a blue ocean, kind of just like looming over you, like this kind of like sad mood is that kind of overlays your entire like thought process, like each thought has just kind of a sad overtone to it, so it's kind of weird. So I talked to her, like, it's like, okay, so like and then I kind of try to explain to her, like, 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 when it happened, so on. So it's just kind of like telling my side of the story about this experience I'm having. Like, it's kind of negative, and I don't want anything to do with it. So anyway, so I talked to her, and she kind of helps me, like, okay, this could probably help you, try this, try that, and so on. So the role of a therapist is to be another pair of eyes for you. So so once you tell your story and kind of like work through whatever that is, you have another pair of eyes to kind of look at it and kind of like cross check it. Okay, for example, your story may be like when I was a young kid, my grandpa, you know, loved to make me pancakes, and then after he passed away, I each time after he passed away, um, whenever I eat pancakes, I feel this sadness over me. I don't know why. And then the therapist is like, "Oh, well, that's why. Like, look at that, look at that. See, like, your grandpa loved to make me pancakes. Your grandpa loved to make you pancakes, and now when you eat your pancakes, you were subconsciously remembering your grandpa. So that's the explanation. So there you go. So it's like a detective work kind of the therapist is essentially like a detective trying to figure out. Okay, so probably this experience made you feel this way, and then now you're kind of acting like this, and and the goal is that once you can kind of see what's happening, you can like stop it. You can or change course. So unless you can see what's happening, unless you can see an iceberg, you can't really respond to it, and you will crash and sink like the Titanic. So that's the main role for a therapist, which means if you want to have a very effective therapy session, you have to be honest and open because unless you're open about your experiences and how you see and internalize them, you can't really connect one to the other because the other person can't see what's inside your head. So you have to do your best to communicate what's happening to you, what happened to you, so then the other person can say, okay, that's why, like that's probably why, and then the other person can say, okay, try this, see if that helps you overcome that negative yeah, experience or the negative emotion associated with a certain action and so on. So to help you break the chain, the cycle that you have internalized and somewhere is now running a program inside your mind, like a rogue software, like a malware affecting your yeah, the health and fulfillment of your own person. So that was the point of a therapy session and the main kind of summary of it. So I did therapy sessions. I think I probably did like 7 or 8 of them. They're about like 7 or 8 of them. Yeah. Over the course of like 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months, I did that. Because this was also the time. This was the time I was nearing the end of my community college education, so everything was kind of wrapping up, and I wanted to like make sure that my ducks were in a row, so everything was kind of sorted out. So that's why I did this. Which brings me to another point. Like yeah, sometimes like the responsibilities you have can definitely get in the way of you seeking help for yourself for various reasons. Maybe it's physical health, like you're like working so hard that you're just eating junk food every day, or maybe it's like emotional health, because your boss is yelling at you because he's struggling to keep the company together, and you're getting yelled at every day and whatever have you, and you don't have time to decompress. And like, decompression is not a weakness. Navy SEALs, U.S. Navy SEALs have to decompress like sometimes because war is just so hard on them. So it's not a weakness to like give yourself time and space to hope to kind of process your experiences and emotions and thoughts and feelings. It's not a weakness. So anyway, so don't let the responsibilities get in the way of your own kind of personal health. Like it's just that's not the way to go. Um, uh, for example, I was looking at some posts mentioning mentioning the chef Anthony Bourdain. He was a very famous chef, like probably like, up there with Gordon Ramsay. Anthony Bourdain. So for those who don't know, Anthony Bourdain, he kind of he took his own life, and and was is no longer here with us. So he kind of took his own life and is no longer here with us. Um, and from what I've read and I can understand, he had years of like suffering with with like depression. He was a former drug addict, so he had a lot of like negative kind of things kind of stacked up on him, and he was also a chef, so he was in a very demanding position that required his a lot of his attention, perfection, and detail. So the whole thing was kind of like a Django block, like I mean, like you have to make time to you have to make time for you. So if you're a busy CEO, like you have your own company, you're working like 80 hours per week, and all that stress from having to like figure this out, and your employees sometimes may not like cooperate with you, or they argue with each other, like and also like your you have your family, your own family, your son and daughter, and the whole thing's just like very stressful. You may you may you may think about taking your own life, and that's not the way to go. The way to go is to just find just like you know find a distance and kind of like work yourself out, because when you're very close to the experience of something, you may get lost in it, and then you kind of screwed. So you gotta like learn to establish that range, so you don't get lost into whatever that is. So you just you have to be aware that you may need to make time for. You have to be aware that you may need to find time and space to process everything that's happening, because so many if a lot of things happens at the same time, you may not be able to process all of it, and you may respond in a way that you probably um, regret doing so. So after my sixth or seventh session, near the end of it, I kind of realized that this is not going to work out for me. I came in there, I'm talking about experiences, and it's not really like doing anything for me anyway, because I kind of knew what the problem was, and I really didn't want to admit it to myself, or because once I admitted the problem to myself, I kind of knew what the solution was. And sometimes the solution involves having to cut off certain people who are toxic to you. Like tolerance is a dual-edged sword. It can definitely help you cope with things. However, whatever thing is being tossed to you could be positive, negative. Unless you process that, it may affect you down the line. Like customer service is a very demanding job, because, for example, customer service is a very demanding job. Sometimes you get happy people. Sometimes you get very angry people. Sometimes you get the same people who are angry one week and happy the next week. So there's a lot of like different things, and that can like wear you down as a person, because you're taking so much things. So that's another another reason why you need to like kind of distance yourself as well from that kind of stuff. Anyway, I realized after like the seventh session, that this isn't gonna work out for me. Like this is not working out. I'm not feeling like I'm progressing. I don't feel like my problem, whatever that was, what is resolved. I mean, like I definitely understand it more now that I have someone else to kind of like cross check my story. Look at my story. However, it didn't help me solve that dilemma anyway. So my last session, I came in, I was like, okay, this is not really gonna work out. Um, I mean, it was great to talk to you and everything, and I kind of just kind of left it as is. Anyway, so the experience was it wasn't the experience was not a waste of my time because I definitely did feel like I understood things better. So I mean, and you know, like in terms of like financial cost, it was like a few dollars anyway. So anyways, it wasn't a a meaningless experience. It was definitely worth my time coming to the um, the therapy room each week. So for those who are feeling like they are stressed, like they feel like they need somebody to kind of talk to kind of decompress, which is there's nothing wrong with that. Like as I've stated, U.S. Navy SEALs, like one of the top performers, and the people who are most likely to have PTSD down the line, they need to decompress as well. It's not a weakness to seek help from others.